Hello and welcome to Life Talk. It's Monday, August the 7th, 2017, and I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Happy Monday afternoon to you guys.
Thank you for joining us. We keep on telling people if they have a question or a comment to write it into us.
Yep.
You got one.
We have one from Jamie Balance. Thank you for sending that in. So he asked about the baby parts and vaccinations, if they are truly in there.
Well, first off, it's important for people to understand that back in the 60s, this is what the pharmaceutical industry claims and the research industry on this claims, as far as vaccines go. Back in the 60s, an abortion was done, I think this was in 62 or 64, somewhere around that era, and that parts from that baby were used to create what's called a cell line. And that cell line was then replicated over and over again, and is still being used today. This is their story.
Right.
Whether this story is true or not, I have no way of knowing, and I don't think anybody else has any way of knowing. But they claim that there was only one abortion. And it was an abortion out of necessity of some sort, they claim, as if there's ever a necessity to kill the child.
Yeah, apparently, this family had many children, and there wasn't any health problems. They had an elective abortion.
Yeah, that would be their version of a necessity, right? Anyway, I don't know whether this is true or not. My experience with the pharmaceutical industry so far has been pretty sketchy, or it's found out that it tends to be a little sketchy.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Yes.
Let me bring some information to you here. For those of you who may not know, we were the first group that exposed the traffic parts, which did a really great job of bringing that back up again here a few years ago with the videos that he did. But we were actually the first group that exposed this, and David readily and publicly has admitted that many times. He's not trying to hide anything or take credit for something he didn't do. But as a result of that baby parts investigation, I've had quite a bit of contact with people in the pharmaceutical industry, and including two different people that called me that were in research and development for the pharmaceutical industry and gave me a lot of insights into it that I didn't know up until that time. First off, the pharmaceutical industry, when it comes to things like this, like these vaccines and the use of baby parts, they're very secretive. And you can't really depend too much on what they tell you as being accurate. But I will tell you, I'll go out on a limb and tell you some things that I believe, and that some of it I know to be true. First off, I doubt seriously that there is a pharmaceutical company in the world that's not involved in the use of fetal tissue and baby parts in their research. I don't think there's one of them. One of the things that I was told by this, both of the R&D people that called me from these large pharmaceutical companies. I remember one of them, he said, this is when our 2020 piece was out and the congressional hearings were out and all that, and this guy calls me and says, you've really stumbled on something, but I don't think you realize it's as big as it is. And he gave me some insights into the actual use of these parts. What are they doing with them? We knew what the protocols were on the sheets because we got the sheets and we publicized them. People can go onto our website and onto the prolifeamerica.com and go to the reports and projects part and read everything that we've put out on the trafficking of baby parts.
Several pages long.
Many pages, and lots of videos on there, and it'll take you a while to get through all of it if you decide you want to. Anyway, what people have to understand here, and this is kind of borne out by the real world experience, apparently there's nothing that can be done with fetal tissue that can't also be done with adult tissue. The difference is how fast you can do it. And in the pharmaceutical industry, speed is hypercritical because you might have 5 or 6 different pharmaceutical companies working on the same problem, trying to create a drug.
And there are several pharmaceutical companies out there that do compete with each other.
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of them. So you might have you might have 10 pharmaceutical companies all trying to get a particular drug to the market to cure a particular problem. It is extraordinarily expensive to do this. And the company that gets to the market first is the one that gets the reward. And one of these guys explained it to me. He said, it's like car racing. He said, if you're a fan of automobile racing, you might be able to tell me who won the Indianapolis 500 last year, but you can't tell me who finished second. It's only who finishes first. And he said, that's the truth about the pharmaceutical industries. He said, so if you spend $100 million in R&D on a drug, and then your competitor beats you to the market, you just lost $100 million.
If you're not more, yeah.
Yeah, if not more. You're not going to recover that money.
Right.
That money's gone. And so the value of fetal tissue is in its ability to make this research go faster. And you can kind of see out here right now, to this day, there's not been one single medical breakthrough using fetal tissue. All the medical breakthroughs that have come through using human tissue have been using adult tissue. But the fetal tissue is what makes it go faster. And what you have to also understand here is that we're not talking about small amounts of money here. We are literally talking about tens of billions of dollars involved in this. The pharmaceutical industry is gigantic. The money they spend on R&D is gigantic. The money they make off these drugs when they get them to the market is gigantic. So this is not a mom and pop operation when you're dealing with these gigantic pharmaceutical companies. And so they've got an incentive to do whatever it takes. And these guys will kind of tell you, look, we're scientists. We're not moralists. We're scientists. We're not philosophers. We're not theologians. And that is an extraordinarily dangerous attitude, because there's not a force on earth more dangerous and have more potential harm for humanity than science that's unfettered by morality. So if these guys come out here and say, which I've heard them say, yeah, the fetal tissue thing might cause some people to have some moral concerns, or it might cause them to, have second thoughts about this. But we're scientists. We're not theologians. Once you divorce yourself as a scientist from right and wrong, I mean, you're talking about Frankenstein now. You're talking about basically anything goes.
Well, yeah, the baby in the artificial baby in the womb. I mean, there's just so much going on. Right?
Yeah, there. Some of the things that are going on, there's this philosophy among these people that if you can do something, then you should do it. Well, that's wrong. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it.
Right.
And in this case, I've been challenged on this before, and people say, well, the babies are going to die anyway. Isn't it better to get some good from that?
Out of it.
Right.
Right.
And the short answer to that is no, it's not. You cannot justify profiting from your own evil. And for example, in World War II, Joseph Mengele did all kinds of ghastly medical experiments. We made a conscious decision at the end of World War II. No matter what he came up with, we weren't going to use it. We didn't have a right to profit from that. It was morally wrong to profit from that.
Yeah, very evil man.
The same thing is true here. The Japanese in World War II did the same thing. And they performed some very ghastly medical experiments and did some things that produced some medical results. We don't use that material. It's not morally justified to be able to use that. But here's the thing that I think is most important for people to understand about this issue. And again, remember who this is coming from. This is coming from the organization that started this, that exposed this trafficking in body parts. We're never going to stop this stuff. I'll pose this question to you, which I've brought up before. I don't know if I've ever asked you this or not, but you've heard me ask it to other people. If there's nothing wrong with abortion, then what's wrong with chopping up the babies and selling them for parts?
Unfortunately, nothing.
Right. If there's nothing wrong with abortion, if they're just lumps of cells, it's really there's no bigger moral component to that than if somebody said, well, we'll buy your fingernail clippings tonight because we can use those in some sort of medical research.
Right.
Right? You do
Yeah.
that. That's not a moral problem for you
Right.
if somebody wanted to buy them, right?
Yeah.
If there's nothing wrong with abortion, then there's nothing wrong with what these people are doing. The fact is, it's only wrong because everybody knows abortion is wrong. You cannot justify abortion, and so therefore you can't justify profiting from abortions. That's the problem here. Nobody wants to fess up to that. But you have to understand something. The trafficking in body parts and whatever relationship it has to vaccines or to new pharmaceuticals that come out, that's just a symptom of the disease. It is not the disease. The disease is legalized abortion. These are symptoms of it. And as long as abortion is legal, you're never going to stop this sort of stuff. And matter of fact, there's going to be more gruesome stuff comes along in the future. You're never going to stop this as long as abortion is legal.
Right.
And to prove that, and you know this is true, we've kind of teased people with it up to this point. We're working on a project related to the baby parts deal that we can't talk about. Hopefully, we'll be able to finish this up and start revealing some stuff about it within the next year. That's our goal right now. Do you think we're still on schedule for that, or do you have any feel for it? Or
I hope it's less than that, less than a year, but I
do too.
know that it's
You're
gonna.
chomping at the bit, aren't you?
Yeah, that's a real good one. It's a good project.
It's a good project.
It's very revealing.
And I'm telling you something, if it comes off like we think it's going to, it's going to blow the lid off this whole baby parts thing.
Yes, it is.
What we've done in the past and what David Leiden's done in the past is going to look like child's play compared to this.
This is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
And what it shows is just what we were talking about a moment ago, that if you accept legalized abortion, you've got to accept this. And if there's nothing wrong with legalized abortion, you've got to accept this,
Right.
that there's nothing wrong with this.
Right.
And I defy anybody to look at what we're going to be revealing, or even the baby parts thing up till now. I defy anybody to look me in the face and say there's nothing wrong with it. But you can't say there's something wrong with it unless you're also willing to admit that there's something wrong with abortion.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's the fruit of the poison tree, right? That's what this is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, back to what's his name, Jamie Balance's question here. Is there a relationship between the trafficking in baby parts and vaccines? I have no proof of that. I would suspect that there is. I suspect that cell line at some point was either interrupted, it was broken, or the cells got old. Human cells don't last forever.
Right.
These things have already been around 50-something years.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know that they were just multiplying and maturing, and at some point you would think that the cell line would have to be broken. They would have to
Right.
start over.
Right. And so now that, they did this at a time when abortion was illegal. So why would they have a problem doing it again
Right.
once it's legal,
Right.
right?
Yeah, especially because all of the clinics out there are selling the baby body parts to pharmaceutical companies.
But yeah, maybe not all of them, but
Well,
a large percentage of them.
Right, and they say that they aren't, but they are.
That they are. And it goes far beyond anything that David Leiden has revealed or that we've revealed in the past. And this project that Renee and I were just talking about, and we've talked to you about it before, we've been kind of peripherally involved in it since the late 1990s. And it's now coming to bear fruit.
Right.
And we think that within the next year it'll be out there, and you're going to be stunned at what you see. But anyway, again, it always goes back to the same fundamental question. You're never going to stop this stuff as long as you allow abortion. If you live in a country where abortion is legal, you're going to have these sort of things happen. It's unavoidable. There's no way around it. So that always has to go back. You can say, well, we can stop the trafficking in body parts. Okay, we can do that. And we can stop late-term abortions. Okay, we can do that. And we can stop this, and we can stop this. You'll never stop all of it until you stop abortion, because that's the root of the tree right there. Right there.
Yep, it is.
Anyway, you got anything else?
No,
That's it.
That's a good show. No. Thank you for sending in your comment or your question, Jamie. If anybody else has anything out there that they would like to share with us or ask, or please do so. We would love to research and answer. Or Mark, he's very knowledgeable in all of this. He knows what he's talking about.
So, yeah, we may already have the answer to you like we did in this. We didn't have to research anything.
No, absolutely not.
Also, go ahead.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of people on here that have said hi to you. I can't name off all of their names, but if you'd
good.
like to say hi to
Hi.
your people out there.
Hi, how are you? Listen, to Jamie, thank you again. And be sure and get your name and address to Renee so she can send you your mug. You were going to forget about that, right, weren't you? You weren't going to send Jamie his mug.
Sorry, Jamie, I wasn't going to send you your mug, but Mark just reminded me. So get your information to me, and I'll get it to you.
Send your information to Renee, and she will send you your mug. And anybody else out there that has information that they want to see covered or a question or whatever it might be sure and send it to us, and we'll send you a mug too. And we may even have you on the show. Who knows? Anyway, that's all the time we have. Until next time, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops.
Y'all have a good evening, and hi, honey. I saw that you said hi.
Bye.
Bye.